Hey guys, let's take these off. Welcome to Fuse Youth, I'm Joel.
And I'm Chester. Make sure you like and subscribe because we post videos every week at 7 and share with your friends.
Cool, so we've got 3 challenges, and if you win 2 of them, you win, and the loser has to have a punishment.
Alright, so first off we have the streamer challenge. The way it's going to work is we'll chuck 2 rolls of streamers on the floor each. You have to grab it and wrap it up in our arms as fast as we can. If you get it off the ground first, you win. It's pretty simple, but it's honestly just easy if you watch, so here we go.
3, 2, 1, go!
Done!
3, 2, 1, go!
Done!
So, as you can see, Joel clearly won this one. Now let's get ready for challenge number 2.
Ooh. So next we're going to do the Oreo game, and this one involves putting an Oreo on our face and trying to move it to our mouth without using our hands. So let's get into it.
3, 2, 1, go!
This is horrible, guys.
And that's time.
Dang it!
3, 2, 1, go!
How long have I got left?
20 seconds.
Oh my heart! That was the best tasting Oreo I've ever had.
Cool, so it is now 1-0 with Chester winning the last challenge. It's down to the wire now with the final one.
Alright, so our last challenge will involve bubbles and hoops. The idea is that we've got to blow a bubble and then blow it across the room through a hoop. No idea how this is going to work, but let's give it a shot. Alright, so I've just got to get 3 bubbles through the hoop as quick as I can. Ready?
3, 2, 1, go!
God damn it. Does that count as 2? Oh, it's gone! Three, done! Oh my goodness. That was stressful.
3, 2, 1, go!
One. That was one. That was one. Done. As you can see, I clearly won that. Wiped the floor off of Joel, so thank you. I won my first challenge ever, so come on, give me that. Oh yes, feels good. I've lost twice, this is my win. I'm enjoying it. With that being said, we have a punishment. So, I am proud to announce that I will be making a sandwich. The only issue is that Joel will be in between the middle of that sandwich. So, let's get to it. Hello everyone and welcome to Chester's Cooking Show. I'm going to teach you how to make the famous secret ingredient sandwich. So, starting off as every good sandwich does with a piece of bread and a large rasher of juicy bacon. Now you're probably wondering, what is this secret ingredient? Well, let me tell you, it is our friend here, Joel. If you could please do the honors. Alright, now no sandwich is complete without a bit of barbecue sauce, so let's grab that. Delightful. Alright, bit of ranch really tops it off, so let's just go easy on the ranch. You don't want to do too much, otherwise it kind of taints it. It's not great. Sweet chili sauce I know is a bit controversial, but trust me, just trust me. Oh yeah, it's really good. Alright, now, fish sauce. I mean, what sandwich isn't good with fish sauce, right? Cool, it's a little bit unhealthy. I'm feeling what we need is a bit of salad, so we'll chuck some of that on there. Not too much because, if it's unhealthy, it tastes good, right? And to top it all off, a bit of cheese, because without dairy, it's not a real sanger. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
Hey Joel, give us a look.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So I have officially been made into a sandwich. So that was a really fun and really gross and smelly experience. I wouldn't advise it. So now we're going to move on to the message.
Yeah, so we're going to hear from one of our amazing leaders. Hope you enjoy. They're continuing our Fruits of the Spirit series, so enjoy.
Hey guys, welcome back to Fuse TV. My name's Zack, for those of you who don't know me. I have the privilege of speaking to you tonight on the final two Fruits of the Spirit from our Fruits of the Spirit series. Those are goodness and faithfulness, which you probably know if you've been following along. I want to share a few different stories from the Bible about different characters that displayed these fruits really well and kind of help paint a bit of a picture of what those fruits look like in real life and in everyday life. So first of all, I've got a story about King Hezekiah. This is relating to goodness. I'll get straight into it. In the long line of evil kings in Israel and Judah, King Hezekiah stands out as one of the only good ones. He showed goodness through his actions, through his decrees, and his goodness was rooted in his love for God. In 2 Chronicles 29, if you're following along, Hezekiah became king and he reopened the Lord's temple. He cleansed it, he commanded his people to worship God again. Verse 2 says, "He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that David his father had done." Hezekiah committed himself to the Lord. He said, "Now it is in my heart to make a covenant with the Lord, the God of Israel." Out of his love for God, Hezekiah made choices and decrees that led all of the Israelites to worship God again. His actions were driven by a heart that loved God and wanted to see his people reunited with God, a heart that was acting out of humility and was full of goodness. So King Hezekiah he was the king. He had all the power in the kingdom essentially, and he could have done exactly anything that he wanted with it. But his heart was for seeing the people in Israel and in Judah being reunited with God and having a relationship with him and living a life that was full of purpose. And so he went out and instead of using his power for his own personal gain, he used it to rebuild and cleanse the temple and ensure that the people in his kingdom were able to reunite with God and live and serve God, which is, he's kind of gone about it the right way, and it shows that his heart was for the people completely and for God. So, really good example of goodness there. My next one I have here is from Esther. So Esther was a Jewish woman who became queen. Her husband, King Xerxes didn't know that she was Jewish. He had an evil advisor called Haman who planned to kill all of the Jews. Esther had a choice. She could stand up for what was right and risk her life to protect God's people, or she could ignore their situation and stay safe in the palace. Esther chose to do what would be the good and the right thing. She told the king, he listened to her, and the Jewish people were saved in the end. Esther's goodness led her to do the right thing, and God saved his people through her actions. So, I mean, it would have definitely been a lot easier to stay quiet and not risk getting herself into trouble and getting her family into trouble. But Esther knew deep down that the right thing to do would have been to go to King Xerxes and use that position that God had put her in for good and to help her people and God's people. And it worked out in the end, which is amazing. So I guess goodness can be summarized as truly desiring to help other people. It doesn't goodness doesn't approach or entertain the idea of sin. It does the right thing, and goodness and acting in goodness challenges other people to do the same, even if it might be a hard thing to do or it might feel uncomfortable for them. It's going to encourage people to do the right thing. Goodness is decent, it's honest, it's moral, it's honourable, virtuous, and full of integrity. These attributes can be seen in both the stories of Hezekiah and Esther. Good people don't just do the right thing, they make things right as well. So now we're going to move on to faithfulness, and my first little story I've got there is from a woman called Ruth. So after Ruth's husband passed away, Ruth could have chosen to leave her husband's family and go and create a new life for herself. Instead, she chose to remain with her mother-in-law, Naomi, and follow her to her home country. You see, Ruth didn't actually know how things would turn out. She just knew that she needed to be with and stay with the family that God had given her and stay faithful to that family as well. Because of her faithfulness, God took care of all of the rest. In Ruth chapter 1, verse 16, it says, "But Ruth replied, 'Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God.'" So faithfulness, it often means putting other people's first, staying loyal and true to family, friends, and other loved ones. It means trusting that when we're faithful, we honour God and allow Him to work in our lives through that faithfulness. With Ruth, it would have been similar to Esther, I guess. It would have been easy to go and start another life, seeing as her husband had died. It would have been obviously a really hard time as well. But instead, she chose to stay where she'd been placed by God, in the family that she'd been placed, and trusted God with her life, and followed and lived with and helped Naomi as they moved back to her home country. And now I've got one more story for you. It's the story of Jonathan and David. This one's a reminder of what it means to be a really faithful friend. So Jonathan could have been jealous of David, who was chosen by God to replace his father as king. He could have compared himself to David even, but instead he didn't. He vowed to remain by David's side no matter what happened. He promised to support him and to cheer him on. In 1 Samuel chapter 23, verse 16 to 18, it says, "And Saul's son Jonathan went to David at Horesh and helped him find strength in God. 'Don't be afraid,' he said. 'My father Saul will not lay a hand on you. You will be king over Israel, and I will be second to you. Even my father Saul knows this.' The two of them made a covenant before the Lord, and then Jonathan went home, but David remained at Horesh." So in this situation, it would have been easy, and I know it happens a lot nowadays. I've done it even. So it would be easy to kind of be like, oh, why couldn't I be in David's position? David was set up to be the king, and Jonathan was like his assistant almost, his right-hand man in the end. But it would have been, easy to be kind of jealous of the position that David was in. But instead, Jonathan just serves him, and he is the perfect example of a faithful friend. You might find situations in your life where you're in a situation like David or one like Jonathan where say things could be going really, really well for you. And in those times, it's a blessing and a gift to have friends and family like Jonathan who are going to faithfully stand by you and support you through those situations. But there might also be times where you need to be present for your friends and be faithful to them when they're going through situations like David. And it might be hard to, fight off that jealousy that might kind of be natural. But yeah, to instead be faithful to them and support them in every single way that you can. So looking at those two stories, I guess you could summarize faithfulness as being dependable in our relationships with God and with others. It's choosing to be true to our word and to follow through with our promises. Faithfulness possesses a constancy, a devotedness, and a loyalty and steadfastness in all of its interactions with everyone around you. I guess it's being reliable in a world that often isn't so reliable. And you'll find that faithful people, they're not disloyal people or flippant about their commitments. They take them very seriously, like you can see in those two stories. So I guess as we've been going through the fruits of the Spirit the past few weeks, it's become clear that we're essentially trying to replicate Christ and the way that he lived on earth. He was the perfect representation of all of the fruits of the Spirit. And ultimately, as Christians, we should be trying to mirror Christ's actions and his heart as much as possible so that people who don't know Jesus can see a reflection of him when they look at us. So by being faithful and sharing goodness, we reflect God's loyalty and his trustworthiness and virtuous heart to everyone that's around us that comes in contact with us and sees us in any way. So as we, wrap up the Fruits of the Spirit series, I want to leave you with a little bit of an analogy that I heard while I was preparing for this message. The fruits of the Spirit can be thought of in a few different ways, but I want us to picture them like real fruits and vegetables. Say you're in your garden even. If you plant seeds and then you leave them for 6 weeks hoping that they grow and you have a beautiful garden in 6 weeks, but don't do anything to them for 6 weeks, chances are those seeds are going to struggle to grow and to thrive. There's a good chance that weeds will pop up in the garden and fill your garden. Maybe even you might have rabbits or pests or something else kind of come and hinder the growth of your vegetables and your fruits in your garden. So in order to be successful in growing your fruit, you need to become a good gardener and maintain your garden. So this can involve things like watering the plants, removing weeds, and creating just a good environment for the plants to grow. Gardens take work, and so does the development of the fruits of the Spirit. You can't expect the fruits of the Spirit to fill you overnight if you just plant the seed and leave it there. You need to spend time in the Word, and in prayer, developing and growing those fruits of the Spirit. And I really, really want to encourage you all to do that with the aim to become a living reflection of Jesus Christ, like all of those people in the stories that I read out before. Yeah, so that's it for me. Thanks heaps for tuning in, and looking forward to seeing you all in the Zoom group soon.
Slow down, take time, breathe in, he said. He'll reveal what's to come. His thoughts in his mind, always higher than mine. He'll reveal what's to come. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as His triumph unfolds. He's never failing. Sing praise, my soul, find strength in joy. Let his words lead you on. Do not forget his great faithfulness. He'll finish all he's begun. So take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. And hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Promise to me, and I will rise in your victory. And you hush the stars and call them each by name. Will surely keep his promise to me. I will rise your victory. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. And you hold the stars and call them each by name. Will surely keep his promise to me, and I will rise in your victory.
That's all for tonight's video, guys. Make sure you're joining us again next week at 7 p.m. same time.
But don't forget to head on over at 8 o'clock over to your Zoom sessions to have a great time with your leaders. Bye!
See ya!